Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, I'm going to destroy $600 worth of equipment. Alright, so I'm being a little melodramatic. I'm not going to destroy $600 worth of equipment. I'm going to repurpose $600 of equipment. That sounds much better. I am, however, going to tear the shit out of something, a couple of somethings. So, as you know, or may not know, in my quest for solar, one of the things about doing solar is having storage, so batteries. So I bought a couple of batteries. I bought an Ampere Time, and I bought a Redodo battery. Each one of those is a 12 volt, 100 amp hour battery, and I put them together in series, made a series string out of them, and created one 24 volt battery from those two 12 volt batteries. And it worked great. I top balanced them ahead of time and took care of all that. But the problem with those batteries is the BMS that's in them, the battery management system, does not have Bluetooth on it. I can't go in and change any of the settings, and each battery has its own BMS. Whereas if I were to combine those two batteries into one battery, or those two groups of cells into one battery, I could put my own BMS on there, and I could then monitor it. The other thing I need to do is I need to secure the cells that I've already created, the other 24 volt battery I've created. So that's what this video is all about today, just kind of taking you with me and having a little bit of fun tearing these batteries apart, because it was kind of tough getting it. Well, here, let me show you.
346 minutes later.
I've got very good news if my shadow doesn't block the view. So I have this metal shelving unit that I moved from the bathroom because it was kind of in the way there. I got it to make the bathroom look nice, and that didn't work out. So it's better suited to be a battery storage device, methinks. These shelves aren't sagging too badly. I wouldn't want to, sit on the thing, but it'll hold my batteries just fine. So, after you saw me tear apart those battery cases, I just wanted you to know where that battery ended up, and it ended up right down here on shelf number 2. And I'll try to get a close-up of that without blocking it. So those are the cells that I tore out of the Redodo and the Ampere Time battery cases, and I've simply put them together in a series combination, and I've put the leads for the BMS that monitors how much voltage is on each cell, and then there's also a temperature monitor on here as well, and then the little lead for the Bluetooth right there. And then I also have a lead that'll plug right directly into a USB for the computer for a little more data than the DALI BMS gives out. I've been very happy. Well, I've been partially happy with the DALI BMS. I'll go into detail about it when I get back to the computer. But everything is wired up correctly here, and I've got the correct size wire for the fuse that I'm running. Because I'm not drawing a lot of amps out of these batteries. I charge them at 30 amps, and I've drawn up to 28 amps out of them at a time, so I've got the right size cable for that. So it goes to a main positive and a main negative lead, and then I've insulated the lead coming off of the BMS so there wouldn't be any shorts. So the only part up here that can be shorted out are the tops of these batteries, and I'll simply put a cover of some cardboard or maybe a lucite panel up there. But people are not going to be sticking their hands in this thing. It'll be put away in an equipment room where people won't have access to it, so no worries there. And then the top is the battery that I just built, or that I have been building over these past few weeks, if you've been watching. And this is the one I also shorted out and nearly killed myself now. I exaggerate. But this unit, all the BMS battery management system leads are on there. The bus bars are on there. There's my main positive lead going down to a battery. We'll cover that in a minute because I redid my shelving unit as well now that I got the batteries off it. But there are all the leads coming down to the BMS. This is a JK BMS. It took me a couple of weeks to get it from China. And I ordered it from EEL Battery when I ordered these batteries. And I got to tell you, I've been very happy with these cells, their performance. I'm getting what I paid for. As you can see, I've put them with space between them so they can expand and contract as they charge and discharge. I've done lots of studies on other guys who test these batteries thoroughly. And I see no indication that you need to strap these things tightly together. I find it easier just to leave them apart and let them naturally swell and shrink as they charge and discharge. These batteries down here are already strapped together in a pack, and they're slightly bulgy cells as well. So nothing pronounced in the bulge of these cells. As you can see, you can see light between some of them, and I just call that they look normal to me. And as long as the battery performs, that's all I care about. Now, long term, we'll see how long these batteries last. But so there we go, up to the charge controller, to the BMS. Here's the main negative lead coming off the BMS, and then that goes under here. And again, that has been, wrapped with electrical tape. And then the wires come up here to the main bus bar. This is the main negative bus bar. So both batteries are wired in series, and then those two series batteries are wired together in parallel. That's why they share a neutral bus bar. Then the negative comes down to this bus bar, or to this shunt. And what the shunt does is it measures the total current coming in and out of the batteries, both batteries, because they're both on this bus bar. Sometimes it's a little hard to wrap your hand around, but they're in parallel on this bus bar. So all the current runs through this shunt and then over here to the negative side of my Growatt inverter. Well, Growatt control unit. It's an inverter, it's a charge controller, it's a, yada yada, on and on and on. Main negative. And then there's a cable that goes from here This is the shunt measuring device, and then that goes over here to my desk. So at a glance, I can see if a battery is charging or discharging, and what the current charge rate and discharge rate is, and how much time I have remaining on that battery. So that's that. And then for the positive side, I've got, these are the wrong fuses. I've been doing a lot of studying up on fuses, and these fuses are not fully protecting me. I need to get they're sand-filled fuses to protect my battery cables. And you're not protecting the batteries, you're protecting the cables, so that if too much current starts coming through this cable, it'll fry and keep it from burning up the rest of these cables and these items downstream of it. But it doesn't protect the battery. You know, you have to take other precautions to take care of the battery. So all the fuses do is they protect the wire. So each battery has its own fuse. One here and one here. So these are the cables up to this battery. That's the cable go down to this battery. And then they both have their own switch. So I can turn each battery on and off individually if I need to, in the event, you know, something were to go wrong. And then both of these then feed into a common bus bar, the positive bus bar, in parallel. And then that goes to another switch. And then I have a resistor with a push button wired in series across the two terminals, so I can pre-charge the capacitors in the grow watt. If it's been off for a while, you need to pre-charge before you flip the switch. So I can isolate my batteries, I can isolate my charge controller, my from everything, from one another. And it's a nice, neat little setup here. The cables are sweet and short, right? You want to keep the cables as short as you can in here. And then this goes down to a breaker out to my solar panels, so I can turn my solar panels on and off at the touch of a button. And then, of course, the Raspberry Pi that runs all the software that we're going to talk about as well. But there is my current configuration. And then when OSHA comes by, I simply do this so that we are in compliance with OSHA regulations. I'm kidding, of course, that's not compliant, but, you know, it gives you, at least it's better than me dropping something on it, right? Everybody's like, yeah, but the towel can catch on fire. Yeah, so can basically anything else that I put on there. Plastic can catch on fire. So, yeah, I've got it built now, and I'm rather proud of myself. I was, you know, other than that little thing with me nearly burning down the house, that couldn't be avoided. That was a learning process, and I learned greatly on that. Anyway, the point is that I'm proud that I got the batteries built. But man, oh man, you're going to see on the charts, man, I hope spring and summer are better for solar than this winter's been, because it is going to be, it's going to take a lot more panels, and it's going to take a lot more batteries to power this system. And this is part of why I wanted to get my hands on this, because my simple ape brain cannot figure out, putting on pen and paper, how many panels and how many batteries it'll take to power this unit, to power my studio. So this may still all be a pipe dream, but I'm going to keep at it, because now the math is starting to make sense in my head now that I've got a physical battery bank and a charge controller and the panels to put hands on. Now I'm getting a better feel of how all this works. So anyway, yeah, that's the current state of my battery build. So there you go. Yeah, you got to see me tear some batteries apart. Trust me, it was nerve-wracking, but when I got into it, I was kind of enjoying it. I could have tried to save the cases and not cut into them, but what for? I'm not going to put anything back in those plastic cases. So they were in there pretty well. They were pretty well secured in there, and yeah, the build quality of this battery, both batteries, was very good. Albeit the cells they're using are a little questionable. They seem a little swollen, a little more swollen than the EEL cells I got, or the cells I got from EEL a month ago. But they'll work. They'll make do, and they should last me. The batteries, honestly, will probably hopefully end up outlasting me. So now that gives me a total of 4.8 kilowatts of battery storage. And both of those batteries now have their own BMS that I can go in and program and change it. One of them has a DALI BMS. The other one has the JK BMS. My preference is the JK BMS, hands down. It's just it's a better BMS, period. There are more settings you can change, and it has a better battery balancer. My cells on my DALI BMS have yet to balance. The cells on the JK, they get balanced every day. They're within, like, it's 1.5 millivolts or less, 1 millivolt or less every day when I check the BMS. So yeah, I'd go with the JK BMS, and the next one I order will be a JK BMS. The DALI is okay, but I just don't like their balancer. I don't like the way it works. Yeah, so back to the build quality of that Redodo and the ampere time. And for the record, ampere time has now changed their time, changed their name again. I don't know what their new name is, but one of the guys I watch that does solar stuff like I do mentioned that they changed their name. Redodo changed their names from some other brand a few months ago. So these companies it feels to me like these batteries came out of the same factory. I would bet money that it was the same group of workers built these batteries as did the Redodo. I'm talking about between the Redodo and the ampere time, because the build quality is almost exactly the same, down to the screws they use, the size of the wire, the color of the wire for the BMS, the type of BMS. It's identical. But they did use good quality silicon wire in these things, and I was impressed by their build quality. I'm gonna order one more group of EEL cells, and then I'm gonna stop ordering until probably spring is sprung, because once I get the third battery bank on here, I'll probably have enough storage capacity to make it through a day. And so then I'll start investing in more solar panels come springtime. And then by the time, hopefully, that fall, winter gets around again for 2023, I'll start buying batteries again. At least that's the plan. So the whole idea behind that was I got those batteries for around $290, $299 each. So total of what, $600. Tore them down and added an 80 or 90 watt. Now it's a $100 BMS. So that was a $700 24 volt battery I was able to build by buying those two batteries separate, and then buying an individual BMS and not including my time. So just keep that in mind. The same battery I could have bought 24 volt, 100 amp hour from somewhere like Signature Solar, and they would have charged me $1,500. So about half the cost I would have paid with Signature Solar. Now, I don't have a fancy case for that battery. I don't have a circuit breaker in there. I don't have this, I don't have that, but I can live without all that, because what I'm after is the storage capacity. So for me, the problem is solved. Anyway, we hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. Please give us a thumbs up down below. Leave your comments down in the comments section if you're so inclined. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and click that notification bell to be notified of new videos when they come out. Donate if you're so inclined. PayPal, Patreon, YouTube join function, and you can become a YouTube premium member and cut out all the red tape and get money right to your creators as needed. You can also check us out on Rumble. All of our content is mirrored. So if for whatever reason you have trouble with YouTube, just hop over to Rumble. Or for those of you on Rumble who don't want YouTube, you can stay right here and see us on Rumble as well. So thanks again for coming to see us, and please don't forget, we'll see all of you on the other side.